So why is Canada in such a bad situation? How do we get here? Well, number one, it starts with our media. Ever since 2018, our news media industry has been subsidized by the government. What other countries have this sort of setup? Communist China, North Korea, Russia. They pay for the news. The government pays for the news. And guess what? The news in these countries usually doesn't criticize the government that much. We've had that in Canada since 2018. If somebody pays you to do something, you work for them. So these journalists, investigative journalists, are supposed to be investigating the government which pays them. As you can imagine, the corruption is not reported on properly and definitely not with the right amount of urgency. This is ridiculous. The news media in Canada does a very good job. The CBC does. Yeah, our Prime Minister has multiple ethics violations. Billions of dollars have gone missing. There are traitors in the Parliament. This could be treason, pretty much. And what does the news media say about this? They soften it, they minimize it, and they push it aside. They've been doing this for years, and this is a problem. You sound like a conspiracy theorist, because when I read the news, it makes me feel like everything's okay and they're doing a great job. And that is pretty well the job of the news media in Canada now, to convince people that they're doing a good job and they're holding the people in power accountable. And this leads into the next biggest reason why Canada is the way it is, and that is an uninformed, apathetic population. Because the news media has failed, they don't have the proper information in how it pertains to quality of life, and why would they care? They don't have the right information, so they think everything is fine. It is actually at the point where every single Canadian who is speaking out about the corruption in Canada and the evil things going on, or the things that should be called out, and actually holding those in power accountable, there's so little of us that we're probably all on a government list. I know that sounds crazy. You sound absolutely insane. Where is there any evidence of this? I'm glad you asked. There's been more and more examples of people with F Trudeau flags saying something on Facebook and then the police showing up at their door about a Facebook comment. Here's an example from just yesterday. BC woman arrested after offensive social media content, says RCMP. Canada is a small place. I mentioned the corrupt media. They rub shoulders with politicians. There's not that many politicians. There's not that many news organizations. It's a little club, and they now have a list of everyone they don't like who's making them look bad. And what are they going to do with these people? And the final reason Canada is the way it is because they have tyrannical, authoritarian ambitions in this Canadian Trudeau regime. Ever since the trucker convoy, political prisoners are a regular thing here. A political prisoner is someone who is thrown in jail, persecuted, dragged through lengthy legal battles, specifically because of their politics and because they are effective at speaking out. It's a tyrannical government. They're trying to control our internet algorithms with Bill C-11, and then now you can't even get news on Facebook and Instagram because of another terrible, tyrannical piece of legislation they passed, and they want to pass another one called Bill C-63, the Online Harms Act, which in my opinion would be the end of free speech in Canada. You remember this example I gave before of the BC woman arrested for a Facebook post by the RCMP? Well, in that article it says prosecutors consider several possible recommended charges, like they don't even have charges yet. Typically, if you arrest someone, you know what you're charging them with. But under Bill C-63, they would have a lot to work with to charge somebody for a Facebook post. There is no way that's happening. I would have heard about this on the news. Remember how I started this video? The news is subsidized by the same corrupt, tyrannical government. But I'm doing something to stop it. I've started savefreespeech.ca. We're going to be creating informative, entertaining content to stop Bill C-63, let people know what's going on, and putting pressure on public officials and hopefully sharing it internationally. We know that the Ottawa bubble has tyrannical ambitions, so we need to put immense pressure on the Ottawa bubble from outside. Anyway, savefreespeech.ca. Here are the social medias. Thanks for watching. Let's try to turn this country around, okay?